Sean's laughing away here.
We see Kushta there just moving out. The man from Lisma, Lisa bike there, Tracknik, just make sure he has an opening when it does attack again, and to be able to move here. You know, this is just a moment of calm before again they start attacking, and here we go. But yeah, you can see the way they're looking around. They're not concerned about what's happening out in front with Stuyven at this 19 seconds an advantage. It's all about now watching. Make sure you're in the moves if there's a number of riders going, if there's a number of teams represented, and be there.
Jacob Lula are there. Also joining us and here, Robbie McEwen and Larry Warbass. Robbie, I'm sure you've been enjoying this first fast and furious few kilometres. Very much your style, but what's coming isn't?
the flat part had been my style. If I was ever going to try and get in a break, or probably more like help the team get into the break, a little bit like Geraint Thomas, yeah, I'll be jumping with moves, and hopefully mine isn't the one that gets away, as his words to Matt Stevens pre-start. Yeah, the flat part is, I mean, it's still hard because we're stage 18 of the Tour de France, but it's about to get a lot harder. And where you may see riders just able to maneuver their way towards the front, follow wheels, get into a move, cover something for the team. That's going to get a lot harder to do from now on because the road starts to tip up and we're hitting the slopes of the first proper climb of the day. The Category 3 climb. It's 4 kilometres long at 6.5%. It's going to feel like a mountain, not a hill.
That's nice. Battle brothers yesterday. An acknowledgement of what happened. You're watching stage 18 of the Tour de France, and what a start it's been. Yes, a bit of déjà vu. A big furious fight for the breakaway, but a different profile, a different parcours today. 3,100 metres of climbing, up and down on shorter ascents than the ones we saw yesterday. A very hot day, in the mid-30s of temperature. Beautiful alpine scenery, and the last chance saloon being entered for 90% of the peloton. It's the high Alps that are coming next, that are time trial to finish off. We have Jasper Stuyven just up the road, and riders desperate to chase him. Sean Kelly alongside me, Rob Hatch, in the commentary box. Robbie McEwen and Larry Warbass here as well. And Larry, I know you'll have been enjoying watching this rather than racing in this.
Oh, I wouldn't have minded actually being in this one, but yeah, it's going to be a hard one today, and they're in for a lot of suffering because, yeah, on these last days, when you know it's almost sure to be a breakaway, it's an enormous fight, and it just never seems to end. So yesterday was really hard. We saw a huge fight for the breakaway, and yeah, they took the win. So everyone will be looking for the same today, and I think we're in for a long battle.
Let's not forget about the updated GC as well. 2 seconds for Pogacar on Vingegaard. He lost 12 seconds to Remco Evenepoel. It's 3:11 from first and second. It's 5:09 from first to third. It's now less than 2 minutes from second to third. A rendezvous demain, I think, for more on that front. Jan Tratnik making it to the front. His mate is 2 wheels behind him. And then you've got 2 riders from EF as well. We said to Sean Kelly that they were hunting in packs. Class riders at the front. Class X riders to talk us through now about what's coming up today. Let's go and hear from the former Tour winner. It's Alberto.
Well, we are in the Col du Festre, the first mountain difficulty of the day, a third category climb with a bonus. It's a 3.9 kilometre climb at 6.3 average percent gradient. It's quite tricky though. There are over 10 kilometres of climbing, and it's going to be fast, so we can expect many moves in order to take part in the breakaway of the day. I think today 2 things will happen clearly. The tailwind can make the breakaway of the day because it will help the riders during the whole climb. And the second one is that the sprinters are going to suffer. There are some pretty steep ramps here. I expect 1 or 2 of them to face some real issues during today's stage.
There's always issues at the Tour, certainly when you get to day 18.
We already saw it yesterday on day 17, and the abandons of Fernando Gaviria, Sam Bennett, as well as Alexei Lutsenko, who not a sprinter but a guy who's struggling, looked to be more from illness and exhaustion. And this could be another one of those days. You get dropped very early, like on the climb they're just hitting now. You may not make it within the time limit.
Sean, you were wondering what Stuyven was doing there. I guess it was always a gamble, wasn't it? He's caught and the whole game's starting again. And look at these gaps now, being chased down by Marc Soler. This is the danger where they might lose control of who's up the road here.
Yes, well, it is a complicated one now as we get into the more difficult part of this route here. It just starts to kick up, as you can see here. And yeah, it was always going to be a difficult one for Stuyven out there on your own, time trialing at the 50+ kilometers per hour, and in the peloton, just little kicks off the front, and then, you lose 3 or 4 seconds. And when you get onto this terrain, there's going to be more attacks. And surprising that if you've got the legs to do that, well then, a rider like Jasper Stuyven should be able to filter into the brakes on the more difficult terrain. Surprising he was left do that, but yeah, he was hoping that the wood riders come across and they form a bigger group.
5Ks to the top. Larry, it looks as though UAE aren't happy with this because they're the ones chasing this down with Maxwell. It's a big group, this.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I was a little bit surprised to see that, just because they could let a huge break go up the road. I mean, like happened yesterday, and I don't think it should be too concerning, but potentially there were some guys there who could have been dangerous or just somewhere on the GC, and you know they don't want to have, I guess, a battle on their hands in the back. So,
and compared to yesterday, where they let a 40-odd man group go late in the stage, it's a very different proposition with a 45-man group going up the road right in the beginning of the stage. It can give you way too much to chase and control, and without knowing who's in it when it goes, the best idea is just to quickly close it down, reset it, and then have a smaller group go up off the front.
It's Mandela Day today, by the way, but it looked like Australia Day on the front there because Michael Mywhoosh was there. Jai Hindley wasn't far away. Wind coming from behind and helping the attackers. As we see now, Luke Durbridge with an issue. He was one of the riders trying to help his teammate Michael Mywhoosh into the break early on. Just on that, Larry, that you were talking about, you know, you've been in fight for breaks. We often enjoy watching you trying to get up the road in the Giro. What's it like if you're in the other situation that you talked about then, having to control? I mean, how quickly do you realise who might be dangerous and who isn't? What's the communication like? Because back in the car, there's obviously a bit of a delay to the television, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, usually you would have at least someone from the team who's in the front sort of just filtering and looking, and sometimes guys, they have numbers on their stems, things like that. But, you know, I guess in this situation, it's not like there's that many guys you need to watch out for, and you know exactly who they are. So you know everyone who's in the top 10. You know anyone who's anywhere near on the GC, and, yeah, not that anyone's that close. And, yeah, so you just kind of... You float near the front and you watch what's happening, but I guess when there is a group of 40, you can't exactly see everyone who's in it.
18 minutes 35 from 1st to 10th in the GC at the minute, from Pogacar to Buitrago. Now, this is a group that has around 10 riders in it. Some strong teams there again. Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe trying to get 2 riders in it. You can see that Lidl Trek have a couple up there as well. There's riders across the front pretty happy, but there's always someone, a wide road like this, who can sneak through, Robbie McEwen.
Yeah, well, it's so hard to shut it down. You might have a teammate up there, but a road that's 25 metres wide is really hard to close off. I did notice Oyer Lascano from Movistar is one of the men who's made it into that move. Just going back to Luke Durbridge a few moments ago, something I just spotted, the way he changed bikes, he took his drink bottles off the bike, but then Matthew Heyman, the team director, said, hand those to me, just get going, because then, especially in a moment like this, so hard to even sit in the peloton, let alone ride off the front of it or ride back onto it after a mechanical. So that the riders' bottles are in the car, they'll come back to him. Here's one bottle, a little bit sticky. Here's another one, a little bit stickier. Get a bit of a pull off the bidon, and he's already made it back onto the back of the peloton. It's just the way it works.
Well played, Luke Durbridge. Too honest for his own good there.
Yeah, I mean, you really hope in that situation you have a director with a strong arm, because it can be hard to get back on.
Is that why everyone's in the gym now doing weights?
Yeah. We have a varying range of arm strength in our directing team, but...
They're about to disappear. What's the situation going to be like when they come out the other side? You can see that Arnaud Delis starting to move up. Certainly last opportunity for him, but it might be a little bit optimistic. We will see. In the meantime, they're listening. They're always listening.
Is this the Visma Lisa bike?
It's the control room.
Control centre.
Yeah, they told them they couldn't have it on the race, so they had to go remote.
Oh, no, they've got a big budget, but come on.
Must have a big van, too.
Jonathan's here to tell us exactly what it is, though.
I was wondering whether you wanted me to chip in and actually tell you what it is, rather than the speculation that's going on. That's the Plateau de Bourg and Plateau de Bourg Interferometer is the name in French, owned by Noma, the largest astronomical project on European soil. That is an array of antennae, 15 meters in diameter, that can observe the goings-on out in space, the evolution of galaxies, stars and planets, and yeah, the biggest one of its kind in Europe, and it's just keeping us informed on everything that's going on up above.
Well, I'll tell you what, they don't need to look far, because the Galacticos are here on the road, aren't they? They're flying. producer Doug says that even all of that satellite equipment can't predict a Pogacar attack. He just can't help himself, can he? We saw that yesterday. Let's see what happens today as we go into the big mountains. This is, well, it looks to be Raul Garcia Pierna to me.
Well, look at the background, Geraint. Downtrodden interview with Matt Stevens. I'm going to try and cover a break, and I just hope the one that I cover doesn't get away. It seems a bit defeatist, but this will be the way it goes for a man like G. And obviously, he doesn't really mean it. He's just talking a little bit more about the level of pain there's going to be throughout the day if you happen to get in the break. But it certainly sign up for it. If he really didn't want to be there, he'd just hang around the back of the bunch and say, I can't today, I'm not feeling well enough. But he's up and about and jumping around.
I think that shows sort of the class of a rider, you know. I mean, the guy, he might not be feeling his best, but he's still up there, he's still trying, you know, and he's not just giving up, that's cool to see.
It's a big part of it, getting in breaks in the Tour de France. When you talk to the guys who get in them time after time, and you'll often hear them say, I'm as tired as everybody else. I'm hurting, but I know if I'm hurting, everybody's hurting. And if I can just go and go again, keep persevering, others just lose their morale as the pain increases. And they're the riders who just seem to get in the break more often than others. Ben Healy's a good example of that.
And sometimes pre-race as well, you know, after being the breakaway yesterday, Geraint, he had a difficult time. We see him, you know, suffering quite a lot. And you feel that, yeah, you're really pretty cooked. But when you get out on the road, you get into the action, then, you know, you can feel a bit different.
Looks as though that could have been the moment, but as soon as we see it, the next we get the instructions and the move to go again. Alpecin de Koning launch one. Rui Costa, the Portuguese champions in here. Already a couple of Visma Lease bike jerseys at the front, including Wout van Aert. There's one chasing on here, but that's the gap up there. Geraint Thomas, who you mentioned, Robbie, is in that front group.
Yeah, big gap they've got, but a lot of reactions coming behind, and also saw Jake Awalula, and I thought the second rider of them was Michael Matthews, who's been really active from the start. They've got one, I have the impression, up here in the group. Yep, there's it's Chris Jules Jensen is the man who's made the move. But in a group like this, any team that's going for the break would have said, a group this size, got to have two. And you've got to go for your main man, the one who can get the job done at the end of the day. It's not just about being represented in the break, it's being able to win from the break.
Gesture, Garcia Pierna, Healy's in there. We saw Sobrero up there. Thomas has been spotted as well. Jake Stewart, I think I saw for Israel Premier Tech. It's a very strong group that's just starting to split and attack each other, with it being so good. I think that Mywhoosh is there as well. Mywhoosh has been spotted, as well as Tobias Haaland Johannesson.
Still splitting off the front of it too.
And still a good way to the top, gents, as well.
Yeah.
Good 4.5Ks to the top yet.
Yeah, you can't just get in this group at the moment and think, well, this is it, we're away. You need to keep pushing really hard. I mean, look at the proximity of the peloton, because there's still riders trying to jump away from the peloton, ride their way across, and others follow, and it threatens to melt back together. So you've got to keep pushing hard. And Carapaz on the move again.
And he's following Oyer Lascano. And Rick Mass had tried to set things up there. And look at Lascano. Pain etched on his face as always.
He has some watts, that's for sure.
What a monster. Oyer Lascano then, from the heart of the Basque Country. Moving into the final 4Ks of this climb, Sean Quinn is here. This is the part that is categorized, by the way, but as we've seen, they've been climbing for a long while. If any of us went on our bikes to ride this today, we'd be looking at the profile and saying, oh, we're more than halfway up now. For these guys, it's just started.
That's one of those horrible ones. Yeah, they put the sign out that says, here's the start of the climb. You're like, oh, really? Is it? Since we've been going uphill already for 4K.
Looking down at that front group, and it was Bart Lemon who was with Wout van Aert. Bill Jensen, you guys spotted. Thomas as well. Geraint Thomas, that is. Bernard and Squinch, Almirai, Hindley and Sobrero, we mentioned. Mywhoosh too. We saw Sean Quinn, Captain America. Ugo Ull was there with Jake Stewart. Mühlberger trying to be joined by Lascano, Vonenbroek, Garcia Pierna, Johannesson, Gachignard, and out the back, oh, it's hurting Niels Eekhoff, and it is hurting Robert Gees. and Armand démarre.
Well, we heard that just earlier from Alberto Contador. He said this is the sort of stage can really hurt the sprinters. If you're having a bad day, you're going to get found out and you'll be in trouble. They're dropped on the very first climb. This is a massive danger for going outside the time limit if things don't settle and they're unable to rejoin the peloton. Carapaz has made it with Lascano.
But so has everyone else.
Back, yeah. Yeah, I think we're going to see now.
I'm here next to Stephen de Jong, the director from Little Trek. Stephen, a hard start to the day. How do you see it going for you guys?
Well, at the moment we have 2 guys in, so that's good, and it seems they slow down, but for sure some team is not happy, so I think they will open it up again on the climb.
And is there a particular point where you think it will go today?
Well, yesterday it took 112 kilometers, so I hope it doesn't take that long today for them. No.
And is there a rider in your team you really want in the breakaway in particular, or is it anyone?
Well, it could be really good if Jasper is in, because I think the final suits him really well.
Good luck today, Stephen. Thank you.
I hope there's more to fire from Jasper Stuyver, because he has already put in one big effort. It was coming back, just as Adam was suggesting there, and getting the suggestion back at the same time from the man who's out on his bike at about 5 o'clock every morning, riding the dawn patrol, as he calls it, Stephen de Jong. I wonder if he did a recon of this climb this morning.
Well, like we see often throughout Grand Tours, we see Mark Cavendish here with Kees Bol, also Alexander Kristoff.
Tim Wellens as well, gents.
Yeah, and Tim Wellens is behind this group, so we saw him struggle yesterday. Whether there's a bit of illness or not, we don't know. A level of exhaustion, certainly, but he's also a man who tends to struggle on really hot days. Tim Wellens is quite incredible in the rain, in the cold. You'd back him as a race favourite in those conditions, but really struggles in the heat, and now I think that's going to be a big factor for him as well.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy to see like the difference between different riders in the heat, you know, and I think it is something that you can work on, you can get better at, you can train. You know, a lot of teams are using this core device now to measure core temperature, but even without that, it's just, yeah, you can do indoor trainer sessions, heat sessions, and even if you live in cold places, you know, now people are, yeah, they're doing these hour sessions on the home trainer. Now people are wearing paint suits, things like that, to really sweat. And I mean, I think it's almost necessary if you're going to do a race in the heat now. It's almost like you could even consider it unacceptable. You know, you wouldn't not train to do the Tour de France. You would not ride your bike. And now I think to neglect doing heat training and heat preparation for a hot race like this, you're just leaving, yeah, gains on the table. So I think we're going to see more and more of it as the years go on, and I think, yeah, guys like Tim Wellens, they'll get better in the heat then.
Look at this, he was at the front a minute ago, now at the back Rui Costa. How fortunes can change in the click of a finger. And yes, Tim Wellens is one to worry about maybe here if he's being dropped before a lot of the sprinters. We know he's a fighter. We also know it's not his time of year. I think there was a rumour at one stage they were going to rename February Tim Wellens month. He seemed to win every race in it. But here we are at the front, and again this group working to try and get away. Still with Wout van Aert, Geraint Thomas. This is Michael Matthews. Left-hand side you can see Michał Kwiatkowski's there again. Alex Aramburu, Spanish champion. Ben Healy.
Wout Poels.
Tom Schoentz at the back. The man pushing the pace a lot in this group is yesterday's winner, Richard Carapaz.
Well, once you get one, the confidence is there for number 2, isn't it? And Sean Quinn's there with him this time. As we're going to go to the radio, and after that, Sean Kelly.
Ça casse à l'avant aussi, hein. Allez, ça la pédale les mecs, hein.
Pedal, mec. Keep on pedaling. Well, if you don't keep on pedaling here, you're not going to be in this peloton or even the cavalcade of cars. We can see the effort everybody is making here, you know, out in front, this big breakaway trying to form. And, you know, talking about Carapaz, trying to keep it moving here. Healy, I think, is really up for today. So, you know, that is what we talked about earlier. Numbers, you know, the tactic within the teams. When you get a split like this, try and pull it away. But, you know, still a lot of action on the front of the peloton. But we can see, you know, this is a really strong group. And 30 seconds back to the peloton now. It looks like it's closing down here. So this could be the big one of the day.
And the last carriage, the last jumpers on that train seem to be Valentin Madouas and your teammate, Larry, Dorian Godon.
Yeah, you know, he was actually someone I was thinking could be a good card for today. I don't know how his form is. You know, he was up there a bit yesterday, so he couldn't be too bad. But, you know, if it comes down to a small group sprint, he's someone he's incredible. You know, as we saw in the Tour of Romandy, he won 2 stages. So when he comes to the line after a hard day, he can be really, really good. So it'd be awesome for the team. And, yeah, great to see him take a stage if it was possible.
20 seconds now to the chasers, 45 seconds and growing back to a yellow jersey group now that has 4 of its riders across the front. A couple of the rivals are there who are interested in the same thing happening are there as well. Wilco Kelderman in that peacock jersey. You can see here that Ilan van Wilder's moved up with Mikel Landa, EF with Nielsen Paulus. He's happy. And here comes the yellow jersey. And once he decides to stop, that will surely be that. No Mathieu van der Poel, though, in the front group. He's still in that chasing group.
Yeah, he was very active early on in following wheels, making a number of moves. He's in the very first move of the stage, and I, for one, am a little bit disappointed to see him still back in the peloton because he was my pick for today in our breakaway predictor competition. So at the moment, it's looking quite like it's going to be nul point pour moi.
But it hasn't stopped yet, Sean Kelly, because I just saw a little bit of movement again from that peloton.
Yes, looking down there, you could see the peloton doesn't look to be that far off, but again, you know, who is setting the pace here? UAE looks to be the ones trying to boss the front of the peloton. You cannot slow down too quickly, because if you do that, then you're open to attack some teams that are getting an earful from the director sportives. Try and get across to it on the climb, and it is possible to do that on the climb if you have riders, you know, who have missed and are still feeling good. Pretty good punchers climb as you can do it, and we can see here, you know, it's still quite active, although we're getting 45 seconds, 44 at the moment. It looks like it was slows down and slowing down a lot, but another little up in pace here, and yeah, they're trying to definitely close it off here, boss it on the front of the peloton and allow this break to get away.
Well, there's barely a team missing from that break, and just having a quick look through at what we know at the moment, one missing is the team of Mathieu van der Poel. There doesn't seem to be an Alpecin de Koenig rider, but almost every other team represented up the front. And those who aren't, maybe Astana doesn't have somebody there. The teams that aren't there, they just are completely busted and don't have the legs to chase it down. In fact, a lot of them struggling just to get back in touch with the peloton, let alone do something about this break.
This is the leading group. It is rather large. It's 50 seconds in front of the yellow jersey group. We're coming up to the top of the climb that looks as though, after a look around, it will probably be taken by Oyer Lascano. Richard Carapaz, though, fighting for every point. He knows that there's an outside chance if he's still good the next couple of days, and depending what happens behind, he could snatch that king of the mountains crying. And then still the chase behind. 25 seconds. We're being shown, though, yep, we're being shown 38 seconds, and it's not quite done yet, is it?
A few more jumps being made behind. Teams not up there, UAE, obvious reasons. The team of Remco Evenepoel, also fairly obvious they're not there. There are 2 from Visma Lease bike. Looks like Alpecin de Koenig have missed the move, along with Astana, Kazakhstan.
Van der Poel's just hanging around on the right-hand side.
Uno X seem...
They're moving. They've just attacked off the front, Robbie. One Uno X rider goes. We're over the first categorized climb of the day. First of 5, but it's up and down all day. The Col du Festre is done. And now Magnus Kort wants to get across. That is Max Soler and Matteo Jorgensen up to the front as well, which is interesting. They thought it was done. And then it wasn't.
Sturven first. This was just before the top that Sturven tried to go. That big effort early really cost him, I think, just persevering for maybe a little bit too long with no group coming across to him. And then he's missed the big one.
Now, Sean Kelly, we've got 40 seconds here, but we've got a long descent coming up. How do you manage this if you're the yellow jersey group?
Well, the yellow jersey group, they are trying to leave this one and get away. We could see that, but it's not been allowed by some teams who are getting the call. And it's going to be an interesting one. 40 seconds on, we have a long downhill here. And riders like Stuyven, the big powerful riders, if they want to really push on here, we could see that advantage coming back. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one now in the next, 10 kilometres approximately, to see will this be the one. It looked like it was all done and dusted at a point. Then it started to accelerate on the front of the peloton, and then again now it's back out to that 42 seconds, but we will see very quickly on the descent what the peloton is doing and who is pushing on there.
Well, it's Lazcano really pushing on in the break anyway, the man from Movistar. Richard Carapaz following him, and Jai Hindley paying attention. There is Mathieu van der Poel, active early but missed the big one. Almost looks like he's resigned himself to a day sitting in the bunch now.
It's been rather strange to watch Van der Poel at this tour, hasn't it, Sean? I thought he would have been much more on our screens. Difficult because on the days where it's flat, he's working for his sprinter in the team, and on other days we haven't had too many races that have gone the way of the breakaway. A lot of it has gone the way of the GC group. It's been a strange tour for him, I'd say.
Yes, well, I think for the sprints he hasn't been doing a lot. He just appears in the final kilometre to the front and then do that super lead out, so that's not taking a lot of energy. We did see him on the gravel stage where he was very much in the front of the race, but wasn't in that front group in the end. And we've seen him today. He makes it maybe a bit too much of an effort, but that's the style of racer he is as well. He just loves racing, and when you're in a 3-week tour, that's where you have to be real cute and real clever, and you have to be able to read it a lot. Where in the one-day races you can go out and you can belt it there, and you get away with that. But in a 3-week race, if you make those efforts, well, then it just catches you very quickly. And when it's a difficult day to get into the breakaway, you have to be so careful not to make those efforts unnecessary.
Now we see these white and yellow figures coming to the front. They're being helped by a few of the peacock jerseys in the blue and white. You've got an Ineos Grenadier coming up here. The road's narrowing, a chance to just feather the brakes, get across the road and try to allow this gap to grow. That's succeeding right now. It's 1:05 from the front of the race, around 35 riders, 2 or 3 chasing, and off the front you've had Carapaz, Lazcano and Hindley pushing on. A few riders from Jaco Alula chasing on. Jul Jensen and Matthews there as well. I'm just scanning those who've been identified in the breakaway so far. Of course, we probably haven't had a chance to have a look and put the magnifying glass over everybody, but I think that the best place in the general classification is Steph Kras at 32 minutes. So there's going to be no worries at all for UAE Team Emirates, and they should be able to sit back, enjoy as much as you can enjoy, defend, and wait for everybody else in the high Alps tomorrow on the day after.
Yep, Steph Kras is the best on GC. Just behind him, nearly 34 minutes behind, Guillaume Martin, doing his usual, getting in the brakes late in the race. And then Ben Healy's the next best after that, 39 minutes. So zero reason for UAE to pursue this break, which in the past has often meant they'll just pursue it and ride for the stage win. But we're not getting the terrain at the end of the stage for a Tadej Pogacar all-out assault on a stage win. So surely this will be one that'll go all the way. But what we will get, we won't get a GC battle behind either. They'll just ride in. But in a group this big, this should be an incredibly tactical battle all the way to the finish.
Hey, listen, we shouldn't have had a GC battle yesterday either, Robbie. Hold your horses.
Exactly, that was what I was going to say, Robbie. I said it yesterday, the GC guys are going to ride in. There's going to be no battle at all here. After the battle in the earlier part, and, such a big group out front, but we did see the man again, Pogacar. He just cannot help himself, and I think he accepted that it was a little bit of a crazy or something like that when he was asked by journalists at the finish yesterday. And that's the way he races. He just loves racing, and that attack yesterday as well, it was so the normal thing from Pogacar, the way he does attack on those climbs.
Yeah, just spur of the moment, isn't he? Sort of sees the opportunity, says, "Oh, why not? It's a race. I'll race." I think there might also be a little element of after the day they had with Visma doing what they did, trying to unsettle UAE. Thought, I'll just remind you who's boss, and I'll just nip off the front and put you in trouble again. But no, they won't go for this one, and there's nothing major climb-wise towards the end, so he'll sit still. Oya Lascano is in the break yet again. Let's hear from him.
Well, we're here with Oya Lascano. You've been trying since the start of the tour. This stage is a good one for a breakaway. What do you have in mind?
Well,
like you said, today is a breakaway stage. Probably it won't make it to the finish tomorrow or the day after, so it's the last day for sure. Apart from the jokes, it's the last day for the breakaway, so we need to filter who gets in. We need to try to be at the front. Depending on who we set in, how we feel, we'll have to go for the stage win as well. I think we deserve it since we fought a lot right the way through this year's tour. We won't reveal the tactics, but in case you are in the breakaway, considering the route, you need to anticipate the attacks. What do you think the final's going to look like? Well, like you said, it's a bit of an unpredictable finish because of the slightly uphill part and the steep ramps. Nobody knows what can happen, so it'll be more about how you feel, seeing how people are doing in the breakaway, seeing how they do to get to the break, and once they're there, to see how strong they are and know how to play your cards best and try to fight there. So a bit of improvisation about knowing what you're doing. Well, good luck. I bet on you.
No pressure, Oyer. Alberto Contador thinks you're going to win today. He's a beast, isn't he, Oyer Lascano? I love him. All terrain. Great surprise at the Dauphiné, seeing him up there in the top 10 on GC on such a mountainous race as well. The bad thing for Movistar is there are strong rumours that he won't be at the team next year, so we will see exactly what happens there. In the meantime, the yellow jersey group are nowhere near the front of the race now. It's gone to 2:21 whilst we were hearing from Lascano. This is Michał Kwiatkowski, the world champion, amazingly a decade ago now in Pontevedra. And he's just at the front here yet again, already tour stage winner on a couple of occasions. He's with Geraint Thomas, who knows a thing or two about winning tour stages as well.
Well, I'll just go back again to that interview pre-race with Geraint Thomas. He did talk about Michał Kwiatkowski. He said, he's our man for the break. We want to get him in there. And Geraint's job was sort of to go with moves, cover them, make sure someone was there representing the team. And said, I just hope the one that gets away doesn't have me in it. Well, Geraint, it's maybe not your lucky day if that's what you really meant, but we know how laconic he is, and you know, he'll be giving it everything in service of Kwiatkowski, because we have seen that Geraint even... Oh, that was close. Up against the back wheel. Ooh, a lot of front brake.
That was close. Thankfully, that didn't end in tears.
Nice for the highlights reel. Not so good for the shorts.
Here we go again. Oh, the brown shorts are gone now, aren't they?
They make a return.
That was a good save, though. I have to say, that was pretty impressive. The little nose wheelie there. He's lucky he didn't go down.
Well, I know they're in action at Lords again this morning, and I think you'd say well held. Wow.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, though, because this is a really big group. So I think it's 35, 36 riders, and it's hard to get a group this big to work together. And so I think we're going to definitely see some attacks, and I think the goal will be fuga de la fuga, try to get in a small group going off the front. So it's going to be really tactical, and it'll be interesting racing to see.
Chente Garcia Costa, eat your heart up. Let's go. By the way, Jono's corrected me, it's Trent Bridge today. Hotting up, isn't it? It's been a fast and furious start. Tour de France that keeps on giving, and we've not really got to the high Alps yet. 137 kilometers to go. We began today with 179.5 on the menu. These sensational views.
I do think it's a little bit interesting to see that this breakaway win after, you know, somewhere around 25 to 30 kilometers when I guess at the start of the day everyone thought it was going to be like yesterday. But you just see what a day like yesterday does to the whole peloton. And I think everyone is so tired, so fatigued that they're really happy to let also a really big group go a bit earlier, you know, and I think it shows the level of fatigue there is in the peloton, and yeah, I think a lot of the riders will be super happy to have seen this group go away.
And that's the two major differences with yesterday. Today they're carrying the fatigue of yesterday, and we had a more difficult start. We had the terrain to allow the really strongest riders to make their mark with that early climb of the Cat 3. So you just didn't have that constant sort of flat to false flat roads where guys could keep jumping. A climb like a Cat 3 really sorts them out. But looking at the composition of this group, I'm about to pop out after my first little stint today. But I'm interested to see who goes longer range to try and leave this group, whether it's going to be Ben Healy or Victor Campenaerts. And I'm going to go with the Belgian. I think he's going to try and go really long range.
He doesn't usually hang on and wait, does he? Let's be honest. He
Yeah,
likes to do things his own way.
That's for sure, but I definitely think he has to, you know. You have to look at some of these guys, yeah, Campenaerts, Healy, maybe a few others, because when you look at some of the names, there are actually some really good sprinters in the group with Van Aert, with Matthews, my teammate Godon. I mean, there's some strong sprinters in this group, and you don't want to go to the line with them. So we'll see a lot of action, I think.
Aramburu, another maybe to add into that category as well. It's a really, really solid group up the front, and one, Sean Kelly, that's going to provide us with quite the fight and quite the spectacle today.
It will, and it will depend on how they work together here. If there's a lot of riders getting a free ride on the rear and not contributing, well, then it will all fall apart, and you will see you know, that attacking. And when you get to that 4 or 5 minutes and they know the peloton is not going to react at all, then you're open to that, and you look around, as has been mentioned, you know, the guys who are better finishers maybe, numbers as well, teams with numbers is going to be important. And, you know, such a big group of, what, 34 or 36 riders, it's always impossible to get everybody to contribute here. And, you know, this sort of terrain, there's opportunities to attack, but I don't think if it keeps on going at a good pace and it doesn't fall apart, then people will be happy to wait, because, you know, at this stage and at this point in the race, everybody's feeling you do not want to hit out too early, because it can catch you in the end, and that's what a lot of the riders will be thinking about.
Over 3,000 metres to climb today, and we've only done 25% of that. A lot of tough terrain to come. TV Joe's about to rejoin us, and I'll go through the list of everybody who's made it up the road. UAE Emirates have finally put the lid on everybody who was trying to jump out the can early on. The gap has grown to almost 3 minutes now. 2:51 to be precise, with 134.5 kilometres to go. In the breakaway, on stage 18 of the Tour de France, we have the following riders. Barret Lemon and Wout van Aert from Visma Lease Bike. Christian Jensen and Michael Matthews are in a pair chasing glory for Jayco Alula. Also for the Ineos Grenadiers, the veteran pair, stage winners, Grand Tour winners, world champions, Michal Kwiatkowski and Geraint Thomas. From good cycling stock, we have Julien Bernard. Also, he's with Tom Screenge. 3 riders from Decathlon, one of the teams looking for their first bit of success at this tour. Armirail, Godon, Prudhomme. Wout Poels is the representative. Here he is right at the back of Bahrain Victorious. Remember, he left it late last year, but took his Tour de France stage win. Jai Hindley's here, Giro winner and yellow jersey wearer. He's with Matteo Sobrero. Remember, a Giro d'Italia stage winner himself in a time trial. For Groupama, hoping to make Marc Madiot smile. Not always an easy prospect, is it that? But Madouas and Pachir there. There's Carapaz, who won yesterday. Healy, the Irishman. Quinn, the American champion. Campenaerts is with Oul, Nélons and Martin. Yes, yet again he's doing it. With 3 riders from Movistar. As Larry said earlier, I'm looking for the Fuga de la Fuga. Aramburu, Lascano and Mühlberger. We've got Garcia, Pierna, Meinke, Zimmerman, Only, Vondenbroek, then 4 from Total Energy. And number 1 on the bike is Adam Blythe.
I am just behind the peloton, and I've been in the crazy car race that happens behind the peloton. All the team cars who have riders in the breakaway, they're all trying to move up, but you can see how narrow the road is behind me. Here's another one, Astana, trying to move up. There is a huge fright and not a lot of space for these team cars to be able to get into the breakaway. But I just want to note something on the road that I've noticed. There's a small black line where they've I don't know what it's for, but it's small and black and it's made out of tarmac. And when it gets hot, it becomes very sticky and very slippy. There's been a couple of times on the motorbike already where we've hit that and you've had that little kink where the bike just goes underneath you. The riders in the descents today, with it being in and out of the trees, the vision will be quite poor on the descent, so it's something to pay attention for. On days like today, you can become very calm, very complacent, and just switch off ever so slightly. So the riders, for me, you always need to be switched on because it can go dramatically wrong on roads like this. I'm going to leave you with that. Back to the commentators.
Super insight as always. Thanks, Adam. Hold on down the hill there. Well, 4 riders from Total Energy. We had a jump to Adam there. Let me name them. Steph Kras, the best placed in the general classification at 32 minutes 58 seconds. He's with Paris-Nice stage winner Mathieu Burgodeau, Jordan Gégat, and the former French amateur champion Matteo Verche. He's there as well on his debut Tour de France. Well, you're looking at Gregor Mühlberger here, the former Austrian champion, and Movistar are desperate for a bit of success on the Tour. He said earlier on, 11 teams have won so far out of the 22, and Larry gets to this stage in a Grand Tour. You're looking for success. I guess you don't need someone to tell you that the pressure is on in those teams. I know it's a situation you'll have been in before.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's big stress and big pressure, and each day the meetings get more and more tense, you know, in the team bus. And, you know, if you miss a breakaway like this and you haven't won a stage, you're definitely... the mood is not good in the team or in the bus or on the radio. You know, I think I've had some days where the radio just goes silent for a period of time, which, yeah, you know, it's not a good situation. But you know, yeah, you do your best, and sometimes it just doesn't work out. So yeah, it's hard, but it's a hard sport, and yeah, you know, Grand Tours are not easy. So yeah, you know, we'll hope for some of those teams that haven't won stages yet, including mine, that they can pull it off today. And yeah, I guess any team that wins a stage in the Tour can pretty much be considered a successful race.
This is bad news for DSM in the breakaway. Thankfully, the gap is so big now that he won't be going all the way back to the peloton. But Oscar Only, who was in the break, the young Scot, alongside Frank Vondenbroek, who came so close, and well, consider that he had some sort of victory helping Romain Bardet to the win on the opening day. And the only 2 guys from DSM in the break. Oscar Only is going to have to work his way back on. Had to take that front wheel from neutral service. So this is the situation at 130 kilometers to go. 38 seconds to Only chasing back. 3 minutes and 4 for the peloton. It's been a fast and furious start. Time for me to hand over in the commentary box to Carlton Kirby.
Thank you, Rob. Well, they described the 3rd week of the Tour de France as being extremely difficult, but with a humane start to it. And it has been anything but. Oh, the frenetic start that we had yesterday that seemed to just last the entire stage. And indeed, today, it's done exactly the same. More of the same, you might say. And, well, who's going to bring themselves to the fore today? Well, there are some teams that are desperate for success. We've already indeed posted that. It was a surprise to me to find that Groupama France de Jeux haven't won a Tour de France stage since Thibaut Pinot in 2019 on the Tourmalet. I've been racking my brains trying to think of anybody else who may well have come through, but desperation stakes for them, and finally they've managed to get, well, some pretty handy riders up the road, as you have seen. Mywhoosh and Quentin Pacher are there. Clément Rousseau was having a dig a little bit earlier on today as well. But it's not just them. There are other teams that really desperately need to get something today, and that accounts for the very, very large breakaway group that we have got. If Oscar Only can get back in, it will number 37 3 minutes and 2 back to the peloton, and it seems like a little bit of calm is washing over us all. But essentially, we've got 2 pelotons at the moment. There's a lot of riders up front, and there's bound to be some inconsistencies as to the amount of work that they do amongst themselves. And surely this can't last as a cohesive group to go all the way to the end, no matter what the deficits are overall. So a fight, a battle within the front group. I don't think we'll see any GC action today, as yesterday was such a strange one from Tadej Pogačar, who kicked on. He'll be saving his resources for Isola 2000 and Curiol, the next 2 stages that will carry us to, of course, ultimately Nice and the time trial. So there's been plenty to talk about so far today. Let's find out about social media from yesterday, shall we, John?
Think he's signing your name or his name?
I don't know what he's doing.
Did you sign Dylan Groeneweg's name?
Yeah, but I mean, someone wanted me to sign his helmet, and I think that's a bit like over the edge. if they would watch this video, though.
Well, an imposter in the team, as you can see there. And that is what it was like yesterday. Absolutely extraordinary.
You've got it in your legs. You've got it in your mind. And I know that you're ready. Believe in yourselves. Do what you've done until now. And don't be afraid.
Well, they weren't afraid. And celebrations for the history maker, Richard Carapaz.
Thank you, John. I want Charlie Wigelius to give me a pep talk every day, quite frankly. Clearly they had the belief. Danny, welcome to the commentary box as well. Another crazy start to what was supposed to be our introduction to the Alps today. We're not exactly playing with the very, very high ground. We're sort of rolling towards it, but it's been brutal again.
It has indeed, Carlton. A little bit of respite from the high mountains, but a huge amount of action from the start. And it's just down to so many teams without a stage win, 11. And as Rob said in commentary, 90% of the peloton with the final chance, you could argue, on today's stage. And that is why it's gone bananas. So, yeah, now the break has established itself. UAE, at the moment, not keen, and I don't think they will today. You know, we heard from Sean saying that he was surprised at what they did at the end, or Pogačar did at the end of yesterday's stage. But today is very different. It is a flat finish, slightly uphill for the last 25 kilometres, but very different to yesterday's uphill finish. So, yeah, so much fatigue as well in the peloton that will be very, very apparent at the end of today's stage as well. 3,100 metres of elevation, so actually on paper harder than yesterday's stage.
Yeah, I mean, how do you quantify it, Larry? We just never know what to expect, do we?
Yeah, I mean, you never know what to expect, but I think on today's stage you think you know. you definitely assume and hope that they let the breakaway go, and I'm pretty sure they will, so I think, yeah, it's good. There's a big group up the road. We'll see a great battle for the for the stage win from the breakaway. And yeah, I think UAE will be content to set a relatively easy tempo. Obviously it's never easy. They're still going to keep these guys within 10 minutes. But I think most of the guys in the bunch are going to be happy to have an easier than the last couple days, day to day.
I'm just so pleased to see the likes of Kwiatkowski and Michael Matthews up front. Some of the old favourites have polished the gems and indeed are catching the eye at the moment. 125.1 kilometres of the day remaining, and we are on a little climblet yet again. It's a category 3 test that we're just about to deal with, a series of little plateaus like this along the way. It's a spectacular part of the world to exist in, and in fact it's around here that the VTT Tour de France used to take place. Very, very fond memories of it actually in the locale, and Cadel Evans as a teenager back in the 90s. Yeah, wonder what happened to him. of Tour de France victory and indeed world champs. And the way he came to the fore back in the day, it was about dogged determination and just keeping yourself pure. And Cadel really did shine brightly, and you know, quite a few dark days, I must say. But we have had, Danny, so many amazing days in this race. It's hard to pick a favourite, quite frankly. Yesterday, I think it was just too animated, really, to count it as a favourite. Almost, it was uncomfortable watching in a certain sense, wasn't it?
It was unbelievable, wasn't it? And trying to pick it apart was really tough. On the breakaway yesterday after the stage, we kind of referred to the echelons feeling like they were days ago because so much did happen throughout the stage. The peloton almost split in half. We had that break of 4 up the road, but that's been the narrative of the whole Tour de France so far. I mean, how long ago does the gravel stage feel? It's been absolutely spectacular from start to finish, and I just put out on social media that I have huge respect for everyone in this sport because it has to be one of the hardest, doesn't it? Not just physically but mentally, to be able to, you know, pick yourself up every single day. There'll be so many stories throughout the peloton where riders go through ups and downs, and yesterday would have been one of those where a lot of the peloton would have been thinking, what am I doing here, because this is just brutal. So yeah, I mean, they are putting on a show.
You can tell we're getting close to the mountains because the water colour has changed. We get this limestone wash which picks up the light and turns it into this beautiful sort of bluey green that we're so used to. It's a lovely part of the world, John Harrispass.
It is a lovely part of the world. We're just looking at this stunning dam and the lake that's formed, Lake Soute. Just one of the... In this part of the world, we get loads of these lakes that are originally formed by EDF, the national electricity provider, the natural energy provider. An EDF bill being something that you require to get anything in France, anything at all. As you will well remember, Carlton, going in. I would like to get a prescription for the doctors. Where's your EDF bill? I haven't brought it with me, but you learn to bring it with you. 350 hectares here in this lake covers, and it's just that beautiful colour. This part of the sort of foothills, the Alps, is known as the mini Dolomites because of the similarity that you get if you go across the border into Italy, and the Dolomites being just another stunning part of the mountain landscape of Europe.
And the landscape of this tour, or at least today anyway, is about breakaways. You've had some breakaway wins. Today it was almost guaranteed that would be the case. Just passing by Lake Saute, nothing to do with the potatoes that John will be describing to us a little bit later on. But everyone at the moment just having some snap, as they say, in the north of England. And yeah, I don't know what's in the knapsacks today. Larry, what was your favourite goodie that used to get handed up to you as a treat?
Well, you know, the problem is now we're just so high-tech with everything that it's just gels and more gels. And I would say...
Gummy bears? Tin of Pepsi?
Yeah, after the stage, yes, but not during the stage. So when I'm training, I do like the gummy bears. You know, a little bag of Haribo in the pocket is one of my favorite things to eat. But... back in the day, you know, they used to do these waffles. They'd fill them full of speculoos or Biscoff, and those were probably my favorite, but I can tell you those probably are not the most high-performance energy food. You know, the occasional Snickers bar, something like that, it's awesome. But yeah, unfortunately these days, it's really just about what's efficient, what's the highest performance, and yeah, for us, it's just carbs, 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 and we even avoid a lot of solids. So you get these bottles that have 80 grams, 100 grams of carbs in them. It's pretty much like drinking syrup. And then, yeah, we just have a bunch of gels. So I'd say it's pretty standard across most teams. Everyone's just trying to get in as many carbs as possible. So it's definitely, unfortunately, a lot less about enjoyment these days and more just about what's the most effective.
What about the rice cakes, Larry? You know, the famous rice cakes that Swan Years make, and they fill them with, you know, a rider's favourite filling. I know a lot of the Italians that I rode with really like the savoury flavours. I always opted for, like you mentioned, speculoos or your chocolate spread type filling. None of that?
Unfortunately, a lot of people are avoiding the rice cakes now as we see a little sprint.
Yes, exactly. Let's deal with this first. Just getting a little bit animated. Carapaz is in greedy mode at the moment. I think he's collecting some of the prize money, quite frankly, to try and hand back to the Swannies, who may well have some options on the prize money. Did Loscano beat him to the line there? Not quite sure.
Looks like it.
Looks like it, yeah. So a little bit of chit-chat. Sorry about that. I interrupted.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, no. So the thing is,
chat.
unfortunately, even a lot of the rice cakes have started to disappear because it's even sometimes now it's hard to quantify exactly how many carbs are in each one. So, yeah, everyone's like, okay, I need to hit 120 grams an hour or 100 grams an hour, and just having something that has the exact number, 40 grams of carbs, 30 grams of carbs, people prefer that to even eating these rice cakes. But at home in training, a lot of us, we do I make my own rice cakes. I even experimented going into mochi this year. I started to make my own mochi, which to my training partners that I gave, my test samples to, they approved. But yeah, it's pretty much, we just go for unfortunately, the simple, efficient gels and, gel chews and stuff, so.
I love the way that Larry has just started a food line.
I
live
will
on
say,
television.
When I did make these mochi, I was like, wow, these are actually really good. I was impressed with myself, and I was like, maybe I could sell this, So we'll see. If there's any food suppliers that want to help me develop this product, I'm open.
Here's Binny back at the medical car, a car that you are allowed to hang on to as long as the doctors feel it's appropriate. And as you can see from his fall, he's still carrying a few bumps and bruises. Thankfully,
one of those rides. It's all good. It's all good.
Lack of stress today when it comes to the intermediate sprints because the breakaway is away and his nearest rival, Jasper Philipsen, is not part of it. So stress relief, I guess, apart from anything else as he gets back to the medical car. We hope that he will be okay for tomorrow because there will be a dash for the cash as far as the sprinters are concerned at the very early part of the morning, because the first action point of the day is a sprint which comes after about 30 k's.
Yeah, no stress whatsoever for Binny there, just getting some assistance from the medical car after that crash, but a really strong performance from him yesterday to take those points ahead of Jasper Philipsen. They were battling it out between them, and I think it's fair to say now for Biniam that as long as he stays on his bike and makes it to Nice, he will be taking that green jersey home. So spectacular performance from him throughout this tour, and also just going back to those KO